Thanks for the invitation. And so it was not a long time ago I was sitting in this very room listening to other people about career path. It was like few years BC, before Corona. So I'm happy to now share my journey with you. Before starting, I would like to first hear about your thoughts. So please go to menti.com and use this code to answer some questions. And there will be time for you to ask me questions. Inspiration. Plan to change from wet lab to data science. Find a job. Broader perspective of life after PhD. To learn what life outside of the PhD postdoc pipeline is like. Okay, good. What skills do you think are important in research? To hear about people's experience of job choice after PhD. Which path to choose, academia or industry. Learn how people can take advantage of opportunities in academia. Yeah, these are all really good. And I hope I can address some of these and share some ideas with you. Okay, so with this, I would like to ask you to answer the second question. How do you define success, and who do you think is a successful person? Personal fulfillment, happiness, sustainability, to remain happy, feel accomplished with your life. I like these answers. Do something useful. Work with something you really like and be satisfied. Problem solving, complete the projects on time. Happy with career, yeah. I like these answers actually. It was different than I expected because the focus is on like the happiness, satisfaction on your job, and also in a way reflects what you expect from life, not necessarily only for work. It's important, both of them are important, but I'm really glad to see this because sometimes we get this tunnel vision and we mostly think about work. Okay, so thanks for sharing your ideas. And today I'm going to give you an introduction, and then I share a real picture with you as much as I can see myself. And then I will talk about what, how, and why, lessons from a journey in bioinformatics. And then I will finish with concluding remarks, finding your own Rajaz. I will talk about Rajaz. And then feel free, please, to jump in and ask questions. So I work at IMBIS, National Bioinformatics Infrastructure, which is one of the platforms at SciLife Lab. And we are almost 130 people, bioinformaticians, data stewards, and so on, distributed in 6 different nodes in Sweden, Umeå, up north, up to Lund in south. And we have different activity tracks. But the main activity, or the main goal, is to help Swedish research community to do complex bioinformatics data analysis, and at the same time provide this knowledge, transfer this knowledge to the life scientists to perform the same type of analysis. And we do that in 3 different tracks, either by support, we do hands-on, and we have different lines of projects. I think you know about this. I presented it in IMBIM Day. I'm not going to bore you with that again, but something which I would like to highlight here is the advisory program, which has been rewarding both for myself as an advisor and also for the PhD students. So we roll as an advisor for almost 2 years for PhD students who have bioinformatics data analysis. And there are grant meetings, and eventually we participate in the when it comes to manuscript discussions and also revision of the papers. And it is very rewarding for myself personally. I had 2 PhD students who have finished this program, and 1 more in the middle of the way. We have infrastructure, services, computational resources, and also tools and guidelines. We have different teams as system developers, data stewards, and also data management, which help you when it comes to publications and depositing your data into different repositories. We have been running many courses. 2023 we had 46 courses with 1100 participants, and we have got very good feedbacks as well. Also, some of you might have already taken some of these courses. If not, the materials are also available online. So, what is my daily job? I work in different projects, can be short, less than 40 hours, up to 500 hours, which we name it as a partner projects as well. First, I started my work at IMBIM in evolution and biodiversity team. And there I worked with genome assemblies and annotation, and then I did also population genetics. And then also, after that, there was some reorganization at IMBIM. Then I joined cell and molecular biology team, where I did mostly transcriptomics, working with different data types, bulk RNA-seq, single-cell RNA-seq, methylation, and recently spatial omics, which I am doing this mostly as part of a partner project. What is partner project? Is when we work with a team or a research group for a longer period. Like 50% of our time is invested or spent on a given project. And in this very project, I am working closely with spatial biology platform, where I work with developing workflows, including Nextflow pipeline, and trying to interact with different bioinformaticians. It is slightly different because I'm working not only with one group, it's as 4 or 5 groups on the spatial biology platform, and also internally with other bioinformaticians and also system developers. So it's in a way project management role, trying to match the experts and also do some analysis myself as well. Teaching, that's one of the other activities that I have. I role as a course leader for 2 courses, basic R or R foundation programming, and bulk RNA-seq data analysis, as well as being T or TA in introduction to data management, advanced R course, ROCR, which some of you might have already participated, integrative omics, and so on. And I talked about advisory program as well. We can also participate in courses and conferences, but we may not be able to present posters or have talks because we are not running our own projects. And at the moment, there is no career growth. We role as a bioinformatic data scientist or bioinformaticians at the platform, and we contribute to different projects. So with this intro, I would like to switch the gear and show you the title that I had chosen. Career Rajaz, a journey through careers and choices. Does anyone know what Rajaz means? No? Okay, good. Then I can explain it. So I personally like music and poetry. And Rajaz is a poetic meter in Arabic and to some extent Persian, but it's rooted in Arabic mostly. And so it's characterized with flowing and movement, and it's used to convey emotions, tell stories, and inspire reflections. One of the characteristics of this style is the rhythmic structure that it has. And the rhythm in Rajaz symbolizes the fluidity and continuity, which in a way reflect the adaptability in our life and also career. I hope after this talk, you will find your own rhythm of your journey in finding or discovering the diverse career or diverse choices that you have in your life and your career. First, some of you have probably seen this picture next to the coffee machine. So explain this to me. Who drew it? Confess. No. But before I say my reflection on this, I would like to hear what your reflections are. So hopefully this works again. Otherwise, I have to start the presentation again. Yay! Okay. Tell me. What does this illustration mean to you? Is this still visible? So I can explain it. We have sharks, and the first time I saw it, it reminded me this song for babies, Baby Shark. So, but we have a big shark as an industry, medium shark as academia. There is a poor fish named me, which I assume is probably a PhD student. And then you have BITE, which is grants and foundations, and then you have PI as octopus. So, don't understand why industry is even bigger and it's all. I can't answer that because I didn't draw it. Academia is a big fish that is feeding by researchers. Survival. Powerless. Endless working hours in the lab. No reflection is also reflection. Okay. Shall I move on, or you want to contribute? Move on. Okay. So, and it's a bit what you shared with me here is a bit far from the first reflection or expectation that you showed me. This contrast is not wrong. Doesn't have anything to do with this being wrong or right. It's the picture that we see, but is it real or not? So I personally, when I saw this illustration resonates with the feeling of being a victim of a system, unchangeable system, as if we have no control on it and we cannot change it. We just have to go with the flow. It reminded me this scene from Whiplash movie. Have you watched this movie? So watch it. Okay, I see some notes. Yeah. So it's a movie which the instructor is pushing or putting pressure on the drummer, asking him whether you are rushing or dragging. And this poor drummer doesn't know which direction he has been doing that. Maybe he has been doing the right tempo. He has not been doing any rushing or dragging at all. But because of the pressure, he just go with the flow, with the pressure. He doesn't know whether he can change the situation or not. But the real picture is that, in my opinion, this is a bit outdated from 2010, but I think it is still a valid picture showing that instead of having industry and academia as different sizes of fish or sharks, there are different platforms, different paths that you can take. The reality is that very few number of us can become professors. But it doesn't mean none of us can be happy and enjoy what we do. We can just switch different paths. We can go forward and backward. We can change. Sometimes it's not possible. All of a sudden, being 20 years in industry, become a professor. It's probably very, very, very rare. But one thing which I want to tell you here is that don't be afraid of changing your path. Because pain of change is far less than pain of regret. So keep this in mind. Speaking of path, I would like to, where's my mouse? It's here. So I would like to show you a social experiment which is called Life of Privilege Explained in $100 Race. Has anyone watched this? So going back to the presentation. So what? Why did I show that? I have mixed feeling about this social experiment, but it represents a bit of truth of our life. So I personally haven't been in the front line. I'm sure many of us share this experience as well. I'm originally from Iran, from Middle East, so I had to take different paths. Doesn't mean that I didn't try or you should think differently. But what I'm trying to share with you is that if I start talking about what I have done, it may not be aligned with what you expect or can be useful for future. But instead of talking about what, I'm gonna talk about how and why. So just very short, one slide about what. I did my undergrad and also master's degree in Iran, Tehran University. And then I did I received a scholarship, Erasmus scholarship to do my master in Netherlands and also Sweden. And then I did my PhD. I continued on the same project which I did in Leif Andersson's group. Did my PhD and almost half postdoc because I didn't finish the contract. Then I moved to Anna Johansson's team, where I did mostly GWAS in human whole genome sequencing data and also proteomics. During my PhD, I also did a lot of genomics data analysis in Leif Andersson's group, different species, herring, horse, chicken, human, and yeah, I think that's enough. So, and then in 2019, I joined IMBIS, which I think I can label it as an intersection between academia and industry. We are affiliated with the university, but the nature of the work that we have is very similar to industry. During my master's degree in Iran, I did this in collaboration with a team in Minnesota University, where I developed this software to predict the probability of abortion in dairy cattle. And I delivered that software to one of the biggest farm biggest farm in the Middle East at that time. Then during my PhD, I worked in skeletal disorders in Shetland ponies, where I designed a genetic test, which is now in the market in US and also in Europe, for breeders to identify the carriers of malformed copy of the gene to control their breeding schemes. I had a startup effort with two colleagues to do QC of agricultural products. We received good support from Uppsala Innovation Center as well. Unfortunately, because of Corona, we couldn't scale it up, but the idea is still there. And it was successful. We could also identify adulteration in products imported in Norway. We also published the papers. Last thing, this is the last activity that I started, which I hope we can convert it to a startup, is working on a platform or solution for personalized curriculum to help applicants land their jobs in bioinformatics and data science. I run a workshop on CV writing, which you can learn more about that in this QR code. If I can find my mouse here. And this one is also the link to a Skills Unfold on LinkedIn. So if you want, you can follow that, and there are newsletters which you can read. Now, let me switch gear and talk about how. So I will walk you through some of the major application of the tools that I have been using daily, and then I will try to sort of put it in a summary about how, and then I talk about why, and then I finish the talk. So in my daily work, which is also common at IMBIS, as well, we work with Python and R. With Python, and each of them I have listed common packages that we use. But there are, of course, specialized packages that I have not listed here, like ScanPy or SquidPy, which we use mostly for single-cell RNA-seq and spatialomics data analysis. Other than that, these are like a generic packages and libraries that you can use to do data wrangling and manipulation. The R Studio is also popular. I have been using R quite a lot. The different packages that I have listed can help you to, again, do the data wrangling, some visualization with ggplot2, for example, and R Markdown for streamlining the analysis and work towards a reproducible research, like generating the reports. That's Quarto as well. I have not listed it here, but it is very similar to R Markdown. But the idea is it will be the framework that we share with the research group, not only to read the report, but also be able to reproduce the results. Perl, I did a lot of coding in Perl during my PhD, and especially when I was in evolution and biodiversity team with my colleague Lucille. And then also Julia has become a bit more popular now, but I have to admit that I haven't been working with Julia that much. So mostly Python, R, and Perl to some extent.
What is Julia programming language?
Yes. It's fairly new and has some interesting features, which is different from other programming languages. If you ask me which one, I cannot say on top of my head because I have not been working with that a lot. Regardless of which tools you use, the path to go from data to knowledge is to a large extent a standard. We do the cleaning, wrangling, and then we use these different programming languages or codings to analyze, visualize, and at the end do interpretation. At MBIS, we somehow stop to some extent when it comes to interpretation, because we do the analysis and then we deliver the results to the research group, and the research group does the interpretation and then downstream validation or additional analysis. In addition to programming languages that I shared with you, knowledge of command line tools and also Linux environment can be useful to work with large data sets. And also this is the place that you see bioinformaticians sitting with black screen and do some codings. And these are the tools that we use in order to handle the data. Statistics is also a key part of our activities. It can be as simple as descriptive statistics or to more advanced techniques like or models like mixed models, machine learning, deep learning, and clustering, which can be mostly used for a single-cell RNA-seq and spatial omics. I'm not saying this is specific for these data types, but these are the places that I have used it personally. So, apart from the technical, very technical aspects of the work, which are statistics and also a bit of computer science, the domain knowledge is very important in our job. I'm talking about knowing the biology, molecular biology, genetics, being familiar with different omics data, databases, and relevant tools. If we take this converted to a domain knowledge, we can also apply most of the knowledge that we have learned in other sects. So we can also roll as data science. So this path going from bioinformatician to data science is easier. I have had colleagues and fellows who moved from finishing after their PhD, they moved to H&M, IPhA bank. So all of these are very talented bioinformaticians, but since they know how to handle the data, they are working in different environments and doing fine. But usually going from data science to bioinformatics may require a bit different path or different knowledge. Still, along the same line, the domain knowledge, I talked about that, and we learn additional knowledge, we gain additional knowledge by doing experiments, which involves trial and errors. And as a PhD student, we tend to make more mistakes, and we tend to accept as newcomers in research, which is fine. That's how we learn as well. So speaking of learning, I would like to emphasize on this picture, which was depicted by James Clear in Atomic Habits book. How many of you have read Atomic Habits? No, I recommend. Oh, one, good. So you know what I'm talking about. So I recommend reading this book. It's very valuable. So this picture represents the feeling that we may have or expectation that we have when we are learning new skills. We have time on x-axis, and on y-axis we have progress or results. So we usually expect to have a linear growth. We spend more time, we should see more progress or more better results. But the reality is different. It's exponential. And the gap between the expected and observed is called value of disappointment. So let me take the analogy of this to a black hole. So black hole bends the time and the space, and I would say that when we are going through this valley of disappointment, we may deal with bending of the feelings as well that we have, like frustration to learn new skills. So this is a misalignment of the progress that we make and the expectation that we have. So we try to sort of, to underestimate or have over expectations about the learning and the outcome. So PhD life teaches resilience in different forms, in different phases, and it has uncertainties or setbacks. And when we are moving forward, we have less time to do trial and errors. And this frustration may appear even more and more. So don't give up. That's what I'm trying to say. And challenge yourself learning new skills. Remember that the expectations can be different as you move on, since you have other responsibilities, not only learning and applying knowledge. So last but not least, please always acknowledge the presence of mistakes and errors. It's always with us. Doesn't matter how expert we are in our field. We always have these errors in the background. If you want to read more, I wrote an article about this which was published in Skills Unfold newsletter. So what else we learned during our PhD time is conflicts. That's part of it as well, because we interact with people as well. And I would say that we should take this opportunity to get to know our strengths and weaknesses at social level. At the end of the day, we are human after all. So I talked about technical skills. I very quickly go through them again, emphasizing that some of the concepts we learn from textbooks and articles. As a PhD student myself, I was going through the introduction, materialism, methods, results, and discussions in details. But at my current job, I'm a bit more selective. I look at the materials and methods, results, and to some extent discussions, and to use the way of representations and illustration or visualization of the data. That's the main differences here as well. We don't dive deep into some of the concepts. But what we do more, or we spend more, is on reproducibility and version control. So what do I mean by that? So we have our data and codes. We have to be able to formulate it in a way to create a framework that we can use it ourselves repeatedly, and also make sure that other researchers will be able to reproduce and use the codes as well. And we do it by different solutions. I talked about R Markdown, and I also use Jupyter Notebook quite a lot. And I try to have the version control by Git and GitHub. I will talk about GitHub a bit later. And in addition to that, to streamline the analysis, I use Nextflow or SnakeMake to create the pipelines. And Conda and Docker are also very popular at our job, because we want to make sure that not only us, but also the researchers or colleagues can also work with the same environment and reproduce the same results. At the end, we have reproduction of the results and also improving the reproducibility. Did I learn all of this during my PhD? No. So environment is very important. At IMBIS, we have very interactive and open environment. We reach each other, we help each other, we have internal consultation, we have internal courses as well, which helps us to learn all the time about the new developments, and of course online resources like Kaggle and Coursera. Saying that, I would like to warn you about job seekers bias, which is similar to survival bias. So I have talked with many students that for a given job title, they say, I looked at the LinkedIn profile of this person, and he or she has listed these, and that certificates from Coursera. I think I should do all of them to land my job with that job title. There is no guarantee that all of those skills learned in those certificates are applicable in a given job title. And I call it job seekers bias and survival bias. Let me explain this to you by the real event happened during Second World War. Has anyone heard survival bias concept before? Okay, good. So you can participate in discussion if you want as well. So the idea was that during the Second World War, engineers studied planes returned from missions by reinforcing the areas that they have bullet prints. But Abraham Wald challenged this approach, and he argued that the areas that we do not have the information, we do not have the bullet prints, are the areas that we have to reinforce, because these are the airplanes that have not returned from mission. So this is the survival bias. If we look at just these scenarios, this is a very applicable example when we have selection bias. When we have selection bias, we are in a way focusing only on what is visible and overlook what's missing. Related to what I said in the previous slide is that certificates are not equal to employment or applicable skills. What is the catch? Certificates are valuable, but only if you put it in practical use. So don't stop by posting on LinkedIn, I'm honored, I'm thrilled to finish or participate in this course, having this certificate, Instead, try to apply these skills in real-world projects, either in your PhD project, or you can also do it in contributing in open source, or you can even have your own personal weblog and publishing it. And highlight how you use these skills, not just by showing that you earn them. And it brings me to portfolio that I wanted to talk about. In academia, publications are currency. That's how we show what we have learned and what we have been able to represent. In industry, we use different terms, portfolio, where we're not only focusing on the publications. And how to build that? GitHub is one of the platforms that we use. For example, where we can share our coding projects and workflows. In addition to that, we can use our own personal blog, where we share the concept, projects, and what we are interested to share with the community. Last but not least, LinkedIn, where we can show our skills. Here, I would sort of encourage you, if you want to know more, look at the workshop that I did, and it is on YouTube as well. But briefly, try to showcase the skills that you have learned. Not only the certificates, but also projects where you briefly explain or summarize. Beyond the technical skills, communication. These are also the skills that we use on our daily job. We communicate with research groups with completely different cultures. For example, in this project that I have with the spatial omics platform, there are different research groups, different expertise, different structure. So it's always important to have this sort of ability to adapt to different environments and work closely. And you have learned it already. You're learning it during your PhD as well. So you explain your research in conferences, webinars, seminars, and presentations and posters. And also scientific publications. If you have your own personal blog, you can also present or communicate with different communities. Teaching is also another way of communication. When it comes to collaboration, teamwork, you have been doing that internally within the group that you do your PhD, or with an international collaborator. And you can also manage expectation and resolving conflicts. If it hasn't happened to you, the conflicts, then it will happen. Just be ready. It's part of it. Problem solving is also what we have been doing as a PhD student as well. Navigating technical challenges in data analysis, thinking critically to design robust experiments as well. Last but not least, project management is what is also you have been doing during your PhD. It's balancing multiple data sets, projects, timelines, deliveries, and also you adapt workflows based on project's need. So, in a nutshell, neither academia nor industry is a shark, but there are some similarities, some differences between them, and the list that I'm going to show you can be applicable to both. But if I want to highlight, some differences are summarized in this graph. So the focus can be different. In academia, we may have more hypothesis-driven projects, but in industry, it can be more application-driven. The timeline can also be different. So some projects can take years. I had projects took 7 years to finalize, and in industry, it can be months. The pharma industry can be exception. They have been doing, for example, vaccine development for many, many, many years. That's different. So we can all the time find exception at both sides. Work style is a bit different. In academia, it can be slow paced. Doesn't mean it's slow paced all the time. But I would say industry is more fast paced. And the outputs can be different. On one hand, in academia, we have publications, grants. And on the industry, we have deliverables, workflows, and other solutions, user solutions. The last part is why I chose to go to intersection between industry and academia. The key points are that I can be engaged in cutting-edge research and avoid the stress of grant writing or grant applications. However, it is less rigid structure than academia. Still, I can be co-author on publications and support grant applications as well. And as I explained to you, it's a blend of soft skills and technical skills. I tend not to use soft because what is soft? I mean, it is non-technical skills, I would say. The challenges are also there. I cannot lead my own research. Sometimes I have this craving feeling as well. When the researchers come with different projects, I would say, okay, I would probably do this a bit differently. It's like a feeling passing by a conditory. You see all delicious sweets and cookies, and you cannot really buy it. So that's part of it as well. But at the same time, it's rewarding. In addition to this craving feeling, it's high-paced, and we work with multiple projects at the same time, which can be stressful, but at the same time, I like it. I like this challenge more personally. And also, we have to find a balance. We have to balance the goals of diverse stakeholders. It can be different expectations and different needs. So, this journey, my Rajaz, has taught me the importance of adaptability and being resilient. And have critical thinking. And without running my own research project, I can still contribute to science. That's also what I like. And your career is unique to you. Your career is your Rajaz, and is shaped by your choices and challenges. And remember that you won't become a professional right after you get your degree. No. You have been becoming professional during your PhD time. So don't be shy or feel that you have to hide your failures. We mostly learn from our failures and acknowledge that and use those experiences. The non-technical skills that I shared with you, you already have it, like teamwork, problem solving. Don't jump on and write on your CV, I am a fast learner, I am a team player. No, showcase it in your CV with the project that you have now. And speaking of learning is power. Keep growing both technically and personally. And remember, you should get to know yourself, what you want and what you value. That helps you to find your future career. I don't remember from who was this quote, but people don't choose their goals. They choose their habits, and their habits choose their goals. Decide their goals or decide their future. And time is precious. Tommy Emmanuel, one of the best guitar players of all time, which he was my favorite musician as well, finished his TED Talk with this statement: "Folk, life is not rehearsal. You'd better get on with it." And remember that every choice shapes your rhythm, your Rajaz, and impact. Speaking of that, I would like to leave you with a poem which reminds us the importance of time and courage to act and change. Again, regret of change is far less than regret of pain of regret. And the poem is this one: "Life is a stage where we each play our art. Each sings their song, then they must depart. Yet the stage stays still, timeless and vast. Blessed is the tune that in heart will last. Before finishing, I would like to ask you to participate in this survey as well. Freshly graduate, or even senior researchers came to me and asked me what are the different paths that I can take. I didn't find very structured definition of different roles in bioinformatics or data science, but I'm collecting data, which I will publish after you participate in this as well. And please reach your seniors, postdocs, whoever you think has already passed PhD time and can contribute to this as well. And then I will publish it in Skills Unfold. With this, I'm very thankful that you listened to me, and I'm looking forward to have a discussion if there is any question. Thanks. Thank you. Questions? It was crystal clear.
It was very clear.
I cannot really say is because of my switching the career, but I think it helped me to find a bit more time for myself to get to know myself, what I want. Because sometimes in academia we usually have this perfectionist view, and we in a way get this tunnel vision, and we only focus on technical aspect of the work. But after this switch, I think I try to address both technical and non-technical, like a personal development as well. And all of us during our PhD may go through some setbacks and depression as well. So yeah, it happens. And it happened to me as well. But reading some books in order to overcome that period helped, and also it gave me the opportunity to get to know myself. So I hope I answered your question. Yes, I can say a few words about that. I start from the time that I had in my PhD. It's not necessarily jumping between different projects, but keeping track of the analysis that I did. I had a notebook, paper. I was writing the comments on the paper. Inserting them was a pain. Then I switched to a digitalized format. It was, I think at the end I had a Word document with 130 pages. Again, it's not sustainable. Then I moved towards using this version control approaches like GitHub. So that's how it helped me to keep track of the projects. So I can submit issues and I can keep track of the projects. Sometimes some of the projects run in parallel. If I am submitting a job, it takes time in project A, then I get me the chance to work on project B. And there is I have also published it as an article as well. So I tried different approaches. For example, I used Trello. I had a weekly plan as well. Then it became stressful for me because I was counting how many tasks I fulfill, and then I realized, it's adding extra pressure. Then I switched to Eisenhower matrix. Eisenhower matrix is a matrix which you have urgent and important tasks, and you try to put your tasks within these boxes, and you move them around, and it gives you a picture which one to prioritize. Saying that, can be a base, and sometimes I put a block of time in my calendar as well that I would work on this project or that project. So I'm not saying this is a single solution that you should use. It can work for some of us, some not. So I use a variation of these approaches. Yeah, so as I said, in academia, we tend to have this perfectionist view. I would say, I think it is from a book called Hello Startup. I forgot the name of the author, but I hope this is the right quote. Done is better than perfect. we can make things perfect, but it takes ages. And it is also this 80-20 rule as well, that we spend a lot of time. It may fulfill, or we get the picture by spending 20% of our time, for example, and then to fulfill this very last percentage, we spend 80% of our time. So it's also dependent on the environment that you work, but if you are in a situation that you think it is good enough, it is good enough. You close that chapter and then you move on to the next chapter. That's my tip, but again, at personal level and also team level or environment can be different. Which type of projects are you talking about? Is it this DDLS PhD program that you talk about, or?
I forgot its
Okay.
project name.
So I cannot give you exact tips, but one thing which I can give you is that look at the job description or PhD position description, and then try to have this consistency in the based on the job description, have it in your CV, in your motivation letter, and be ready to represent those or be prepared for discussion in the interview. It is very general. I cannot give you a specific because it can be very... one thing which I can tell you is that don't have like a one single CV or motivation letter for all the positions. Tailor it for the given positions and also job description. The CV workshop can give you a bit more information. It's on YouTube. I will share the link with Rafael.
What's the name?
I ran it in last May, and it talks about different key suggestions on how to prepare for the job application, or it can be a PhD application as well. Yes, I would say yes. I mean, it's also depends on the personal level. I mean, some people are good at finding the balance between them, but I personally feel I have more time for other things than just working. I recall my supervisor in Iran told me work to live, not live to work. So I think in such environments, I am in a way fulfilling this criteria or feelings. Yeah. So I hope I am not scaring you from academia, but yeah. There is a bias in terms of gender as well, but it is changing. We have the picture already at IMBIM, which is public, it's known, but it is changing. It is hopefully reach a balance as well. Yeah. You're free to go.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thanks for having me. Thank you. And before I forget, please, this will be good for IPhA. Did I pronounce correctly?
Yes.
Yeah. So to give feedbacks on the organizing the seminar, so please scan this QR code and give some feedbacks to Rafael and Maria and others.